ring. Make them jump around them. Burn them.
And it's important for me to get the ones that aren't ready. Coble, I might want you to dress this week. I don't know. I'll probably Russell Gillis right now. I'm not going to give you probably a tryout. You got this match, and then you got the middlings, and we'll evaluate it again. If you want to weigh in and get the experience, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I'd recommend it, going out there in front of that crowd. Because if you haven't put many Iowa uniforms on in front of the home people, have you? Have you? You put that Iowa uniform on. Ask Lincoln about it. You're sometimes a stud, but sometimes you put that Iowa uniform on for the first time, you get a little nervous. Gillis looked up, saw 11,000 people looking at him. He felt great. All of a sudden, his legs got wobbly at Penn State before the match even started. Nothing like experience. Iowa State was perfect for me because their style of training wasn't a lot of structure, wasn't a lot of whistles. It was just a lot of hard, combative wrestling.
Harold Nichols had a wrestling style, a coaching style that really didn't appeal to me very much. You had to be, I think, a Dan Gable type. He had a lot of great wrestlers down there on that team. Kids who could go out and, even if they were cutting weight, they'd be cutting 15, 20 pounds, they could motivate themselves enough to say, hey, let's go, work out, come over here. I really wasn't that type.
There's a learning curve that you have to go through in a wrestling room, and Dan was no different than anybody else. He had to go through the learning curve. He had some tough moments. And there's some real soul searching that goes on. Am I willing to pay this kind of a price? Am I willing to come into a wrestling room for 3 months and get beat upon pretty good in order to make the transition? But Dan wasn't afraid of paying the price. I think he just had to question whether or not it was all worth it. And I don't think it took him very long to decide.
There's no doubt about it. As he got into college and you watched him wrestle and compete, you knew that he was something pretty special, different than most wrestlers. Paid the price, worked harder than most wrestlers. One thing about wrestling, hard work will pay off.
Everyone would have their own regimented workout, and everyone would work for an hour, hard. Wrestle real hard, lose 5 to 6 pounds. When everyone has stopped wrestling, Dan would continue to wrestle. And one of my criticisms for this wasn't that he continued to wrestle, but he continued to wrestle with real big guys.
Chris Taylor, he's a big old guy. He's 450 pounds. I was a little leery of him for the first few times, and when I wrestled him, I would just try to stay even with him. He was a big man, and I tell you, not too many people in the room would wrestle him because we had heavyweights. But and I worked out with the heavyweights quite often, but nobody was probably goofy enough except for me.
Probably 3 weeks maybe into that fall, or just early fall practices, he came to me and said, Ben, I want to wrestle with you today. And I can remember thinking, Dan, you're 50 pounds lighter than me. What do you mean you want to work out with me today? But I couldn't say no to him. I mean, you're not going to turn and tell the guy, no, I'm not wrestling with you. So I said, well, yeah, sure, I'll go with you. And people have asked me how I went with him that particular day, and I guess I would say roughly the score was probably 50-3. I know the 50 points were scored. I'm not sure the 3 were. And from that point on, Dan regularly would come and just going around the room and deciding who he would want to wrestle with in different days, he would come back to me and thrash me thoroughly.
Dan was ahead of everyone in his thinking, just like great athletes are. And I think that what he did is he realized that he had to go up and wrestle the 160-pounders, and he had to wrestle the 165-pounders and 70-pounders. And I think what he did is he was a little bit wiser and a little bit more mature and had a better vision than most people at that age.
If there was anything that I'd say was the strength of Dan, and I soon saw this when he was with other people, and then I saw why he was doing it to me, is that he just never let up. And he would always be pushing and hounding his opponent, and initially just to kind of get him tired and get him in position. But as soon as he'd get you to catch your balance, then he was after you. And as soon as he could get you to stop thinking about offense and just start to protect yourself, then he had you where he wanted you. And it doesn't matter how little or how big a man is, when you start competing that way, sooner or later you'll find the flaw, you'll find the crack in a man's armor, so to speak, and you can then score on him.
What he had is he had a style that wore his opponents out. He literally out-conditioned everyone that he wrestled. And once he got him to that point, his technique, regardless of how good it was, it would work when your opponent's tired. And he was able to do that. He also probably trained harder than any wrestler that I've ever been associated with.
Well, I've been a fanatic all my life when it comes to training, when it comes to working out. I've just been the guy that just worked my joints to the point where you have to make adjustments, otherwise they're going to be just tight and you won't be able to bend. So, I probably have pushed too long, too hard. Well, so now we're talking about, here I was, an athlete and a coach that could just not show no signs of weaknesses. And all of a sudden, my mobility just wasn't very good. And but I was still teaching and working on skills and running practices, and I was doing pretty much, everything was normal. But I don't think I was starting to lose some fire, some energy. But more than that, I was like, all of a sudden I couldn't move hardly. I just I'd get down to teach in a position, and then all of a sudden I'd send the guys out, and I couldn't get up. Hand and Hoover are swimming.
What about Leonard?
Who? Lee? Is up there?
Yeah.
What about him?
He went to Colorado. He did? Yeah, 70.
Him and McGinnis. Now remember, guys, some of you guys have a hard time going 2 weeks without competition or whatever it is. thing you got to remember is once our competition starts on the 11th, then we got a competition again on the following weekend for 2 days, national goals. We're going to have to do some peaking a little bit. Then we got the Minnesota match, and we got Wisconsin, we got the All-Star match, we got Northwestern, then we got Illinois, we got Arizona State the same day, then we got Iowa State. Then we got a little bit of a break again so we can train again, but this is really our training phase right now because otherwise we're going to go into competition. So sometimes you get a little bit of lull to sleep here, but there might not be a lot of training time after this to make adjustments. That's why we make this training happen right now. Once we're training for a lot of these competitions that are coming up in the future. Bang, 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 bang. Ready? Hit it! Two more to go.
Kayla, I think you carried me up here. Kayla carried me upstairs before.
You did it wrong. I like my kids, just like I usually do, and everything's not going perfect right now. I've had to be real critical and real strong with me and them, emotionally, but it's because they know me that I can do this and get away with it. And it's been a little tough the last 2 or 3 weeks with me and them. Who's that doing that? Who's that? Keep looking at him. Keep looking at him. Keep looking at him, Clark. Keep looking at him. Okay, which way is north? Which way? Okay, which way is south? Which way is east? Which way is west? Yep. South. Yeah. North and east. There you go. All right. Close. That was pretty good, considering. Where's Will Whitmer? Come out here.
Too many circles.
Huh?
Too many circles.
Yeah, keep looking up. 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 West.
That way.
Where?
That way.
That way?
Yep.
No, that's south.
It's got the Coca-Cola sign.
So?
It's west.
No. There's west.
That's west?
Yeah. Of course, you probably didn't know. You probably had it wrong in the first place.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. That's all right. Where do we come in at?
That's up.
All right. Good. You don't play basketball, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play.
Did you?
I can't get it.
You did.
I didn't want to go past the half court.
Well, I don't care.
It wouldn't be legal.
Ouch.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, be careful. Nobody's even made a basket yet. Somebody just made a basket. There's no way you get as close as you did before, man. Look at that, look at that! He did it! Yeah, the first one hit the rim, the second one he made it. Oh, just like him. That's 2 grannies. 2 grannies. That's that. You got one man arm up.
I consider him one of 3 great men in college wrestling.
And Gable really stole the spotlight from Oklahoma State when he started wrestling and started coaching. And to do that, it took a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, and a tremendous amount of self-discipline to really take the throne from Oklahoma State. And that's what he's done. Dan Gable and I aren't great friends. I mean, we communicated at times here and there. I don't think our personalities allow for it a lot of times. Not that that is negative. I just think we're both competitive. But I think the one thing that has kept us maybe distance is the competition. We both still like to win. I want to beat Iowa. That's my goal. I want to put Oklahoma State back on the top. And with that attitude, it's hard to be great friends.
One of the things that happens in wrestling is we tend to just stay within our own community. And although we all adore each other and adore the sport of wrestling, I don't think we've been as effective in reaching the outside world and showing what a great sport it is. Technically, it's a beautiful sport. It's a little difficult to understand, which I think we've become quick fix people and we want immediate gratification. So wrestling's a little bit more difficult to understand. To me, it's a bit of a ballet watching the two, wrestlers jostle for just the right technique that they're looking for, and then they create it through that opportunity, and then they perform that technique. But not everybody knows that, and not everybody can see that.
Oklahoma State wrestling, in terms of rivalry, I think of Michigan-Ohio State football almost. I mean, these are two programs that don't like each other, and I think it starts right at the coaches. Dan Gable and John Smith. I mean, they don't like each other because they each want the same thing. They each want championships, and as wrestlers they were that way, and now they've carried that on into the coaching. And when these two teams meet, there is no love lost, I guarantee you.
Turn around, buddy. Get up. We need to get back on the winning track a little bit, okay? Let's go. Blood on him. I got blood. I got blood on him right now. Go. You're going to take him down to win. Let's go. Go to win. You're standing too much motion. You're taking too much. You're standing up too high. You got to get some motion going. Trade it and beat him. And the third thing is you're reaching too much once you get in. You got to penetrate. You finish hard. Come on. We need to turn this thing around. You got to help it. Come on. You got to help it.
to add the 1970 NCAA champion, the Big 8 champion, outstanding wrestler at the NCAA tournament, the Gregorian Trophy, and Athlete of the Year. And all you have to do, Dan, is to come through for us. Congratulations, Dan.
This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
The big one coming up here, Dan Gable going for number 181 in a row over Larry Owings. What do you think?
ABC was doing the Nationals, and the whole lead story was Dan Gable. And so, there was a lot of hype on Dan's last National, and undefeated in collegiate basketball. 1-2, getting ready to win 3. And here's a kid from University of Washington, sophomore. Most kids would have gone down to another weight to get away from Dan. And people would ask him that, Larry. He said, well, you can't be the best if you don't beat the best. And so he stayed up and wrestled that weight.
I can remember being interviewed by one of the reporters from ABC, and him asking me, you think you got a chance at winning this? And point blank, I told him, I said, I'm going to win it. And it caught him so off guard that he just kind of dropped his jaw and dropped his mic, and he didn't know what to say.
Get underway. Well, here we go. There's the champion, Dan Gable. Hasn't lost in high school or college. He's a senior, 21 years old, against Larry Owings, who's a sophomore from Hubbard, Oregon. He's lost one bout this year, 133, and lost one. They're going to come out after each other. They're not going to wait around. It doesn't look like they're going to feel each other out like they might have. Gable dropped in. Owings countered him. Underarm spin by Owings. All moves. Beautiful move by Larry Owings. Now here comes Gable in. On the way. Takedown for Gable. 2-0 lead. That's Owings on the bottom. Gable with a white headgear. On his predicted, Gable got ahead. Gable is real good on top. Owings out. Boom. He almost got 10 there. It's on his back just for an instant, but not enough. Not enough for a point. Look at that Owings go. He's up for one. And now it's 2-1 the score. Dan Gable with a white headgear on top. This is the first period. There Owings goes again on an underarm spin. And the roll. Beautiful move. That was the same move he tried earlier but did not score. So Owings now goes out ahead on that takedown by a score of 3-2 here in the first period. And one of the few times in his life, Dan Gable, checking the scoreboard, finds himself behind. I was thinking about how tired I was getting. My muscles felt weak. That just didn't happen before because you're focused and you're ready to go and you just wrestle as hard. You're not aware of all these things when you're really focused and ready to go as an athlete. So I know it's all these things right away. Now Gable seems to be going off the mat all the time. Why? He's a very offensive wrestler. I don't know, Bud. I'm not used to. I've seen Dan Gable wrestle over 20 bouts, and of course I've never seen him go off the mat before. Well, would the referee begin to warn him about that or not? Well, of course, if you do it very often, they can call you.
So I'm sitting in the stands with my family watching, and I'll give you the scenario of I'd spent 2 full years now with Dan. I, by that point, would have considered him my personal friend, and I had the greatest confidence in him. I'd seen him in trouble before. I'd seen him behind, but I'd never seen him lose.
They don't know quite what to think right now. Of course, it's a close match. Beat by Owings to make it 4-2 now. Owings ahead. And he's right back in, Bud. On a takedown. He hasn't got it yet. There he does. And now Owings goes out ahead by a score of 6-2. And Dan Gable, the defending champion, won the last 2 years, is in serious trouble here in the second period. I believe 3 minutes left to wrestle. Ready? Right away, fellas. Ready? Watch me. Wait for the whistle. Keep your foot in, Iowa State. You 4 start, Washington. Wait till I blow the whistle. Don't move once I tell you you're set. Ready? Look at big crowd here of around 9,000 is stunned as Dan Gable, undefeated in high school and college, is losing to the sophomore from University of Washington, Larry Owen. Dan Gable on top. We're trying to get on top. He's trying to get on top. And I believe he's going to make it now. Owens had that cradle on but lost it. He was trying to turn him but actually got reversed. So now the score is 8-8. It's a tie match.
My brother Phil had never seen Dan wrestle before. And he looked down the row at me a couple of times and says, "And Dan, this is the guy you've been telling me about, and he's in trouble." And I remember saying, "Don't worry, it's no problem." And I continued to say that, literally laughing off every time Owen scored. Dan would score again. So I said, "Well, Dan, he'll wake up and he'll shift into high gear here and he'll get the job done."
Yes, he has to have 1 minute more than his opponent, and he can get 2 if he should get 2 minutes more. Looks like Gable's beginning to control the match now. He's the defending champion. There's the riding. Now we see riding time, and he does have 2 full minutes more. 4 minutes to 1:33. Wait a minute, there's an escape. Owens gets out. Owens wins 9-8 except for the riding time. Yes, in actuality now we must remember that Owens, even though he leads 9-8 on the scoreboard, he is behind 10-9 because of riding time.
I had always coached myself to always be going for the pin. And it wouldn't make any difference if I was behind 29-0 or if I was ahead 29-0. I would still be going for the pin. And so I was still going 100%. I got my escape, and I was still going for the pin, and I managed to take Dan down and put him on his back. You know, the move wasn't working like I had thought it was going to work, and it didn't make any difference. I was so psyched up that I got strength from somewhere. I'm not sure where it was, but it was more strength than I'd used in any match previous to this and any match since. That I just muscled him up and muscled him over and made it work.
Gable looks a bit tired. Yes, he does. Oh, they got it on the way. He's got him down. The 2-point takedown. And on his back also. Now 13-8 for Owens. The Gable came right out, but for an escape. 13-9 now. Owens is leading. The score is 13-9, favor Green.
I looked at the score, and I still had the score like similar to what it was. So I figured, maybe there was no points. Maybe he got 2. But the referee then went over and talked, and then the right score came up, and it was 13-9 on the scoreboard, which I had 11 actually, but I didn't get into after the match is over. And it just like took my heart out of it.
Dan Gable is bewildered by the score, but he can't figure out that score. Perry just gave the score 13-9.
And then finally turning to Phil probably with 10 seconds left and realizing Dan's probably not going to pull this out. It's going to be an incredible miracle if he does now. And in seeing the confusion on Dan's face there, even at the end, wondering what the score was, I think. And the place goes crazy. And I'm sitting up there saying, I can't believe it. I have been laughing while my hero, my teammate, my captain is actually losing. And I have been laughing at it.
Now there's only 3 seconds remaining. Owens is leading. 13-9 to the riding time. The final score. There it is. 13-11. First time in high school or in career. Dan Gable, after 181 in a row, has lost to the sophomore from University of Washington, Larry Owen, being swept off his feet by his coach, Jimmy Smith. There's the very unhappy Dan Gable. Gable down to the mat. Oh, he might score. Up! 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 And I really didn't know that there was going to be some other teams out there that was really going to push us, especially Oklahoma State. You know, I have to give Oklahoma State a lot of credit this year. They really, from where they were last year, in 1 year, they turned 180 degrees. Kind of a crappy match, huh?
I never even watched.
Where were you?
You were outside.
Say hello to you. I've been a fan of yours since you were in college.
Thank you.
I've been watching you, following you.
Appreciate that. Thanks. Thanks.
Because then he has that done. Here, that looks pretty nice.
You know, I don't know if it just happened when I jumped out of bed that morning, or if it's something that just wear and tear all of a sudden started some fractures. But the whole joint was inflamed, probably from, they think, hairline fractures, just hitting. You know, when you have something that's cartilage inside there, and then all of a sudden the cartilage is gone, it's just the bone on bone, and eventually something's going to give.
That's like swollen on your knee.
Swollen?
Yeah, like so.
Well, you haven't been up and seen me very much. Where you been?
Mom, birthday parties. Mom doesn't let me come up.
Well, I don't let you come up either.
Do you need a robe?
I didn't want to see very many
Do
people.
you want a robe?
Not really.
Do you want a sweatshirt?
Yeah, take one along in case I need it.
There's a black one
I
right
decided
over
to John
there.
out of here. It's kind of cold outside.
Okay. You can come along?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to call Wes in about a half hour.
Okay.
And so we went in and we started talking to a lot of doctors. I talked to a doctor and we did a lot of stuff, and they said it was just, you know, joints wore out. You know, it needs replaced.
We're just going to take once around the park here, and we can go on the wall side. Should be around. Let me turn on here. Which way do you go to? My son did when he goes to Hoover. He wrestles too. Right? He's a wrestler. Well, training.
When you've wrestled, you pay attention to wrestling, and no one else does, or hardly anyone else does. And it's really hard to explain to someone why you enjoy watching it. And so when there's someone like Gable who almost transcends the sport, you're just sort of grateful that there's somebody that people who didn't wrestle can sort of say, hey, that's pretty interesting. And it helps the sport, and it at least gets somebody watching it for a little bit. Good night. go. Get out there. Gable had been out now for a couple of months after the hip surgery, and all of a sudden, this was his night back. This was his night at center stage, and he came into Carver Hawkeye Arena, and the place just went completely crazy. I think he found out how much the fans loved him. But these fans were also wondering, is this the last time we're going to see Dan Gable? Were considered the premier wrestling country in the world in the 60s and 70s. They won the Olympics time after time after time. The Russians understood position better than any other country, I think. You could not get a Russian out of position. Dan stunned the Russian coaches and the Russian wrestling fraternity with the way he was able to exhaust the Russians and literally made one Russian wrestler quit right on the mat. And after he won the Tbilisi tournament and they gave him a Russian bear cloak and he walked around the arena with 10,000 Russians yelling, gobble, 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 the Russian coaches got together and said, we have to find somebody who can beat him in 1972. So, I had to distance myself. And I just didn't want it to come down to a call. I just didn't want it to even be a close situation. I just wanted to dominate. I changed my goals after that. It wasn't just to be a national champion or to be an Olympic champion. It was to beat everybody. Whoever stepped on the mat with me, I was going to win that particular match or that particular workout. However good my workouts were before, we became more dominant.
We were in Washington, D.C. We were getting ready to go over. All the teams had met in Washington, and we got uniforms, everything set for us to go. And now we were going to fly over in various planes and different schedules. But we'd all met there in Washington, D.C. Well, for one afternoon, they had scheduled for us to go to the White House. And just to meet the president and see the White House. And here's the whole Olympic team going to go. The manager of our team, Russ Howe, comes into the room, and we're standing around that room. We're not ready. And he says, aren't you guys going to go to the White House? And my brother John turns to Russ Howe and says, Russ, what do you really think this is? We're getting ready to go to the Olympics to win gold medals for our country, and they want us to be tourists. And we don't think we're going to go unless we can get a workout on the way. Dan Gable, John and Ben Peterson never made it to the White House. We got a workout instead.
We all thought it was a big deal to have somebody from our hometown at the Olympics, because to me, at the time, the Olympics were a really big thing. I mean, you just didn't ever dream of even knowing anybody that was at the Olympics, because you always watched it on TV.
Dan Gable was more than ready after years of preparation to get involved in his first Olympic wrestling match right here in Munich, Germany. During the first period, he more than held his own. However, all of a sudden, it was detected that he had sustained a cut over his eye and bleeding rather profusely.
And this is Dan Gable. They're in a tough match at 149.5 pounds in the freestyle, and as you see, Dan Gable is being attended to by his coach, Bill Farrell. He was injured, cut across the forehead in the first period, and right now, Bill Farrell is trying to get things patched up before the start of the second period. controversial, but he did score. Now, Gable into his chicken wing. There's the ball, Frank. It's all over. Dan Gable, at 2:59 of the second period, has pinned Safer Sali of Yugoslavia. Moving into the third and final period of Dan Gable's attempt at a gold medal. Dan Gable on the right, who's up against Ruslan Ashviliyev of Russia. Dan Gable could only lose the gold if he's disqualified or pinned. And we're in the final 3 minutes of this man who has so dedicated himself to this one thing, a gold medal. Throughout the match, 10 seconds. 5 seconds. And you'll hear a crowd of Americans who have gathered here to watch this match tonight. And Dan Gable has won the gold medal at 149.5 pounds, defeating Ruslan Ashviliyev of Russia 3-0. A regular decision for Dan Gable. And in my group, maybe the most dedicated athlete I've ever known.
And Dan won his final match. And here he is winning, and he's just going to walk off the mat. And a few of us wrestlers, we ran down to the edge of the mat and carried him off the mat. And while we were doing that, I remember him sitting up on our shoulders saying, "Come on, guys, I came here to win the match, and I got it done, and okay, let's go home." You know, it was the kind of attitude and the statements that he was making.
That Olympic achievement of winning a gold medal without anybody scoring a point on you, it was really it was a landmark way to sort of leave the competitive side of the sport.
If you were in the World Series, it would be the equivalency of pitching 2 no-hitters. You just don't do that.
When I stood on that award stands, when they played the national anthem, it was almost like several flashbacks happened. You know, but the one that really stands out was my sister Diane. It was a flashback to her, you know, her involvement in my life, you know, and it was one that I really have a hard time even relating to exactly what it was. But she was somehow involved with me at that particular time in my life when I was receiving that gold medal.
Is in a horseshoe, and the Israelis were on the other side of the horseshoe, and it was probably across the horseshoe. It was maybe 100 yards, maybe a little less. But we were laying in bed. It was late at night. We were laying in bed like all wrestlers, because back then you had to make weight. You weighed in 2 hours before you wrestled. So we were laying in bed, you know, thinking about competition the next day. I was laying in bed, and my roommate Bachman was with me, and I heard this boom, 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 boom. And I said to Bachman, I said, "You know, those sound like gunshots."
But the thing was, while these guys were up there with these stocking cats hoods on, up there in these balconies, on that side, going that way, athletes were running during their morning run and everything. It's amazing atmosphere. There's tanks coming in and all that. And I was lucky enough to have had my competition done. And
scare me for some reason. I really didn't realize at the time the danger or what was taking place, that people were losing their lives. I knew it, but it didn't really hit me at that time.
Well, it's pretty great, really, being gone for quite a while.
What's it like in Munich today?
The weather, it's about the same. It was a pretty nice day.
That's the mood. I mean, the mood, the atmosphere.
Still a little bit about crisis they had over there. You can sort of lingers in here. You can feel it because a lot of guards around.
I think the thing about Gable that, and this goes back that you have to understand where he comes from, is that he didn't have any other focus in his life. I mean, he didn't care about cars. He didn't care about who the president was, you know. And so as a result, everything he looked at is very one-dimensional.
The Dick Cavett Show. Tonight, Dick's guests are Jim McKay and members of the U.S. Olympic team. Gold medal winner in wrestling, Dan Gable.
It would be amusing. I'm not the person. Could the best woman wrestler wrestle the worst male wrestler?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Could the best woman wrestler wrestle the middle? Oh, I don't want to go on with this. I was just wondering if there would ever be men and women's wrestling once we get all this. You really get even when you're doing it easy like this.
Well,
What else is there? Isn't there something called the whizzer or the
Japanese wizard.
Japanese whizzer? Okay. I think I saw that in a catalog of marital devices. I don't know.
Yeah. This is from a tie-up position. So here, if you happen to push into me, I go with you and throw you. Oh!
Yes, you certainly do.
Hey, I'd love to come in here and take those clutches and just go like this. I gotta wait about another month to Nationals. That's my final night. I'm gonna take those clutches and I'm gonna throw them out to the world. That the Big Ten, I'm looking at it any different than I've always looked at it. It's a qualifier for the national tournament. It just so happens we won them all. And we're hoping to run it again, just from a traditional point of view. But the bottom line is what takes place at the University of Northern Iowa. We had some team goals this year, and we didn't quite reach them, but they're not overwhelming because we didn't reach them. Just because Iowa Western happened to be in a position, unlike any other team before, which is unusual from a positive point of view to break some other records. Well, it didn't happen. We were in a position to go undefeated from third straight year, which we never even did 2 straight years before. That was already held over the record. We were in a position to win everything again, but we didn't. But we are still in a position to win everything when it counts, and that's what's critical. Had him too many times to lose that one. We had him too many times to lose that one. And, there's something that's coming up in 2 weeks that we're going to have to really be ready to go. And this performance here is probably not going to cut it for us.
Got
the drink and hit the real running. The guy's been warned for stall, you know. Hey, Tom! Mount up. Another one. Mike did not do the job in the last one. I know, I'm sorry, but he's part of the team. Well, I can't help it. Right now we're here. It's the only measure I have. I can't measure it. Put your foot back there. Hit it! Top row. Top row. Get out of the water. Don't let me take this one. I get hot tea. You got hot tea? Iron side? I'm learning to like you guys. Go! You got everybody in there? Go blow. Everything my high school coach told me, everything he told me is exactly right. Back then when I listened to him, when he told me, you do this, you do that, and you'll be a better person and all this and all that, well, I just thought it was a bunch of garbage, you know? But everything he said was right. And if I would have done it, what he said, I'd be a lot better off today than I am right now. You know, you don't only learn from clinics and wrestling by yourself, you learn from watching. I don't care how good the guy is, how bad the guy is in wrestling. I can learn things from watching you guys wrestle. Because almost every one of you guys probably have a certain thing you do different. Or I have a favorite hold. If I can pick that up, that's just going to add a little bit more to my wrestling knowledge. It's going to help me a lot.
It was probably June of '73 that I started dating him. And he just started calling me. It wasn't like I pursued him or anything. He started calling, and I thought at first he was calling as a friend, and maybe that's what he was calling for. And the calls just kept getting more frequent, and started going out. We just thought, what the heck, you know, why don't we just get married and we can both live together then, and so we did.
Obviously, having 4 girls was ideal for me. Maybe I can say that just because it happened. And if it was boys, I'd probably maybe be saying the other thing.
You know, Dan, people always think that Dan was supposed to have sons. And I don't know why, but they always think that Dan's parents thought that we were supposed to have sons. If he would have had a boy, surely the boy would have been an athlete. Dan wouldn't have been able to follow him like he would have wanted to. And who's to say then maybe he would have ended up following the son and maybe not been as successful a coach. Dan's dad always watched after Dan, and Dan never made a decision without always checking it out with his dad. And he probably checked it out with his mom more than he did his dad. They always felt like Dan shouldn't be bothered with big decisions in his life. They never wanted Dan bothered with anything. They only wanted him to do, wrestling was the only thing they wanted him to be bothered with because they knew that was important to Dan.
I called my dad. I said, Dad, geez, I just got a call from Iowa. I said, no problem, take your time. Then I just called him. He said, take it or leave it. What do you think? Should I just tell him I need more time, or should I take it or should I leave it? My dad goes, take it. Gable first came to the Iowa program as an assistant to Gary Kurtlemeier right after the Munich Olympics. The chemistry in that dressing room was like nothing I've seen.
The beauty of the whole thing was that there was two guys that were just solely intent on being good as they could in everything that they did. I was never told I couldn't do anything. I was never told that I had to do anything. And it was a real one guy take care of the other guy. And I don't think there was any question at all in either one of the other one's mind how committed the other one was to winning.
We came into the host hotel in Budapest, and we walked in our hotel room, and we both looked, and there was one double-sized bed in there, and a small double bed if you've ever been to Europe. And I said, I'll be right back, we'll go get another room, and went back. There was no other rooms in the hotel. There wasn't room to lay on the floor. The room was so small. So I had to sleep with Dan Gable in a small double bed for one solid week, and he's rolling over on me at night, putting his arm around me, he's whispering at night. I'm going, if people really knew this about Dan Gable, I wish I had this on tape. But then again, I said, maybe I don't want this on tape.
Oklahoma State and Oklahoma wrestled last week, and Oklahoma State got an intramural heavyweight and ended up winning the meet because of the heavyweight class, because they both got in a fist fight, and they ejected both of them. Consequently, no points were scored at that weight class, and Oklahoma was heavily favored at that weight class. So my plans are to find an intramural guy that can fight.
The Wrestling Hawks did manage to rack up the 56-point performance of the last match, but they rolled up an easy win over Cleveland State. The final was Iowa 43, Cleveland State 3 tonight at the Fieldhouse. So the Hawks have now won 13 straight matches over last year in this one, and they are 2-0 for this year.
This one was just starting. You have to ask me after every match, and then I would ever tell you whether I'm feeling good or bad. As long as we win, I'm feeling good. If we lose any, tide can change, but we can't let that affect us.
A familiar sight, the Iowa Hawkeyes celebrating a national wrestling championship. 4 times in recent years, including last year, the Hawks have taken it all, and they're favored to do it again.
And it was us. I mean, I think Dan and I looked at it as it's us against the country, and it was a fun deal. It's like, hey, get your best, come against us, we're going to beat you. We don't care how many of you are, how many schools, we'll still beat you.
One day when I was a freshman, I see Gable, rolling around the mat. Our practice just got over with. And he's loosening up himself. And he's rolling around and stretching out. And as I walk by him, I'm looking at him and going, God, he's supposed to be that tough. And here I was this great rider. I thought I could ride anybody. I thought I could jump on Gable and I could ride him and I could turn him, and I thought I could. So I saw him there bending over, stretching out, and I kind of walked around, I kind of jumped on him, and he was stretching out, and he kind of rolled over to his stomach, and I put my leg in, and I started cranking on him. I really cranked really hard on his neck, and next thing I know, I'm down on my stomach. He reverses me. And I had my 12, 14, 15 seconds of fame because I rode him that long, and he beat the living tar out of me. He beat me silly. He was put my arm behind, like professional wrestling, he put my arm behind my back, and he'd work my arm got real tired. And this after I would practice. And I'd get my arm loose, and he'd work on this arm, and he'd work on my head, and he'd come into my back, and the whole time going, get off of me, get out of here, get off of me, I'm finished. And he goes, you're not done until I say you're done.
So Iowa has made it 8 straight in the Okie State. The only suspense for tomorrow, how many champions will they crown? Next year, this tournament moves to Iowa City. Maybe then they'll consider the suggestion of one disgruntled Oklahoma fan who said, why don't they rename it the Dan Gable Memorial Tournament? Winning streaks in college, 9 in a row. I mean, this is unheard of. UCLA basketball maybe, Indiana swimming maybe, but Gable put this together in wrestling. And every year it just seemed to snowball. And they got new guys in the wrestling room, and they fed off Gable, and they fed off the guys who were there before them. And there was a confidence that if you showed up on the mat in an Iowa singlet, you weren't going to get defeated.
I came to work almost every day, and I'd pull out my drawer, and I could pull out a bottle of champagne and pour the champagne to celebrate. Why? Because you won 4, you won 5, you won 6, you won 7, you won 8, you won 9 national championships. We got reporters from Inside Sport and Sports Illustrated following our team around. Wherever we went, they were there. We go to a party, they're there. We go downtown, they're there. You know? You don't want to go to the restroom, you're afraid they were there.
No matter how we wrestled during the year and the other years, we always came together as a team at the national tournament, and it didn't happen in 1987. With the 10 on the singlets and everybody pointing to their all-time, NCAA championship, consecutive wins in all sports. There was definitely a pressure on the team and I think on the coaching staff, and it was an unusual year. It just, things didn't fall together like they normally fell together.
Which resulted from that one moment. Kelly holding Penrith and finally getting his shoulders to the mat for the pin which ended the 9-year run of the Iowa Hawkeyes on top of NCAA wrestling.
If you build years of dominance and winning, all of a sudden you become almost immune to things that need to shape up. Just because you're the best doesn't mean that there's not things that you got to keep working on. And that's real crucial. And to be aware of it. And it took me getting beat to have enough courage to say, I'm changing that, and I'm changing this, and I'm going to become more disciplined here. I'm changing the way I think here. It's because it's time to do that. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. I didn't do it. Now the guys he has on his team, the new era, it was like, run through that wall. It wasn't like, why? Or, okay, sure, but do I go shoulder first or head first? Now he says it, and it's like, they just take off running.
So it's just like this.
We got the middle one ready to go.
That one's got to go.
Yeah.
The 1997 national tournament was held up at Cedar Falls, Iowa, and that's where hundreds of the best wrestlers from the country come together. They're from Edinburgh and Iowa and Oklahoma State and Minnesota, and they're going for that national championship, not only individually, but also as a team. And schools like Iowa and Minnesota and Oklahoma State, they'll bring 7, 8, 9, 10 wrestlers in there. And as each wrestler wins, that establishes team points. And at the end of Saturday night, the school that has the most team points is the team champion, and that's big.
what he does to these guys, the focus that he instills in them. I mean, you're off 1 second, you're out of the match, and it's incredible. He's made this state very proud. There's nobody that has done what he has done ever.
Bill's in there?
There.
Oh. Let's go to the game plan first. Let's go to the game plan for the day. You know, we've had our game face on, and we've been very controlled in our thoughts. You know, concentration, focus. We've been focused on our thoughts, and we got to continue to stay the same way. Sometimes it's easy to let things turn around a little bit, especially when all of a sudden you've done pretty well and the team looks like it's an automatic, shoe-in, and so on and so forth. But, we didn't, how we got here is we got to stay focused. And if we don't, we're going to have a lesser performance, And just for another factor, guys, history can be made today. History can be made. 6 champs, most points, all that stuff. There's a lot of things that can happen today that, besides individual titles, that can make Full Heart said could be one of the best teams ever. It could be. We'll see what happens. You're in a position. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Let's go.
Kristen, any points you want on this?
Yeah. I'll have it.
This is the 1997 NCAA Division I Wrestling Championship from the Unidome on the campus of University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls. Hello, everybody. I'm Lon McCarron, along with Olympic gold medalist Jeff Bladnick. When this tournament started 2 days ago, Oklahoma State was the #1 ranked team in the nation. They had beat Iowa in the head-to-head battle. Some people said they could win this championship by 40 points, but Dan Gable's Hawkeyes have turned that scenario around 180 degrees.
We were never out of it, but it did look like Oklahoma State had the edge until we proved different.
Jesse Whitmer of Iowa against Lindsey Durlocker of Illinois. Under 1 minute left in this first 3-minute period. And Durlocker is going to run out of time here. Whitmer will win the national title.
1 Smith is wondering what Mena will choose, and Mena is going to say start in the neutral position. He doesn't want to go down against Guerrero and get ridden. That keeps that 1 minute and 11-second riding time intact.
We go to sudden death.
Now it's the difference. Mena needs to hang out, and he doesn't do it.
1 point for Guerrero, and Guerrero is your national champion at 126. Division, Mark Ironside going against Steven Schmidt.
Back to the center and push towards the out-of-bounds line. And Ironside gets another takedown. He's in a great position here.
Mark Ironside completes a perfect junior season with Iowa finishing up at 30-0 and a national championship at 134.
McElravy is still moving forward.
A point for Bono. We're tied at 3.
And it could be a takedown here for Bono.
No points yet. They're out of bounds. Overtime, a 2-minute period.
Sudden death. Oh, McElravy has Bono in trouble here.
To go.
And Roby just cannot clear the arms of Williams. Can't get that shot initiated. And Iowa's going to take it.
4 of 5 in the finals have taken their national title. Joe Williams gets his due from the crowd.
Iowa chooses down. If Iowa gets away, Iowa wins. If Oklahoma rises for the 32nd, Oklahoma wins.
Chaning's title that he owns comes down to this. Can Fullhart get away?
He's going to do it.
I won't go because I do get emotional.
All right. I'll do it. Press citizens. That was the other day.
Everybody knows that we have a release on Dan up here, a little biographical sketch and a statement from University President Dr. Mary Sue Coleman. So if you haven't got it now, you can pick it up.
I'm in trouble with Mackie over here, my little one, because I haven't convinced her that it's the right thing to do yet. I think my father, as well, might not understand me stepping down. And I think Bob understands, but obviously doesn't want me to step down. My high school coach, Bob Siddons, I don't think wants me to step down. I think my team performed this year at the national tournament because they were aware that I might step down. And Mark Ironside said it best when he says, we're going to make it the best darn shootout for the country to send you out if you go out. And so it made a difference. I also could sit here and talk about my health, but that's been in the papers enough. I could sit here and talk about my family. Obviously, those are two of the main reasons that a lot of people have to get out of certain things and go on to other things. But I think, besides myself, the person that would have me step down is my mother. And she's deceased now. But I think she would say, enough's enough. And I'd like to have Bob introduce the new coach, as well as maybe telling me what the heck I'm going to be doing here. Because I think I can help a lot of people. And I'd like to continue to do so, but not in the same role. Right down the middle.
Ready?
Yeah, you're doing your job. Come on. Explode on the way up. Control the way down.
All this stuff happens because of a tremendous amount of focus and desire and will and preparation, just doing a lot of thinking about what you want to happen. And because you constantly do that, and then you're doing the things to try to see if they come out that way, over a period of time, things come out that way.
Again with the right hand, and a straight right lands there, and in a minute, if this keeps up, you'll see Murphy's legs start to wobble. They're stiffening even now.
You get a good guy to condition a guy like that and really teach him some things with that kind of heart, make a good fighter out of Murphy. Not tonight, by the way.
And since Greg Page is still himself fighting, he probably isn't yet a full-time, everyday, 365-day-a-year trainer, right?
Not only that, he's not the kind of fighter, or never was the kind of fighter who would get in there and try to win something like this anyway. He's a bouncer and mover. Yeah. This guy has heart. He's taking everything that the champion has, still there.
Dietzo's got a little French grin on his face as he sizes up the easy pickings that Murphy looks to be. Murphy not quite as easy pickings as he appears, but Dietzo feels good about it.
And Murphy can just lightly tap him with his right hand, come back with the hardest left hook from the floor. He can change things, make his guys at least back away a little bit.
Another sharp right hand along the ropes by Dietzo.
That's the left hook.
Murphy with a quick counter right inside.
Turns it into a hook, the right hand. You got to touch him with the left a little bit.
Joe Cortez, one of the world's most respected referees working here. You reflect on the fact that young Mitch Halpern, coming off of De La Hoya, Trinidad, where he did a terrific job, has been chosen to referee Holyfield Lewis. And let's go to Holyfield's dressing room for referee's instructions.
Okay, if your mouthpiece comes out of your mouth, I want you to keep fighting, protecting yourself. And there's a low, go back to the corner, you're gonna put right back in. Okay, I want you to watch your head and your elbows inside. So 3 knockdown rules, no staying 8 count. You're the champion of the world, I expect you to protect yourself like a champion. When I say break, take a step back, protect yourself.
I'm your referee for this fight.
I want this fight clean.
I'm here to protect you.
Okay. Any questions? All right, good luck to you. Question? All right, good, go.
And you heard Halpern warning Holyfield about headbutting. The people in Lewis's camp are quite concerned about the possibility that Evander will come up from the inside, the shorter man butting the taller fighter.
You got those punches, man. You want this punch, you gotta go take it.
Mike Tyson twice insisted that Evander Holyfield uses the headbutt as a weapon. Your take, George?
I know that Murphy, if he moves his head a little bit and throw a few shots, we could have a different fight. Man, he's withstood all of the best that Teoso has got. Now do something yourself.
George apparently more eager to talk about Teoso Murphy than Holyfield Lewis. Well, they'll be in the ring later.
How about you? Did you experience that when you fought Holyfield?
That was another good right hand. Good left hook to the body by Murphy. Taking charge. I guess if you're going to lose, do your best.
Maybe he thinks he's going to come back and win.
He also fights with the confidence of a guy who just knows he's strong. You start throwing punches at him, he says, okay, and then when you stop, here I come.
As we talk about the Lewis camp's interest in the question of headbutts, we should point out that both sides have an agenda, just as the Lewis people will be asking Halpern to watch for Holyfield's headbutts. The Holyfield people will be asking Halpern to make Lewis keep his protective cup down low as opposed to up around his ribcage.
Archie Moore and I would talk about the strategy of headbutts and things of this nature, and we'd always end up saying, so what if he headbutt? I want to whip him anyway. And that's what you really think about in the boxing.
So you have to ignore it, is what you said.
Just ignore it. One guy wants these kind of trunks, the other guy wants that color. Oh, just so what?
Are you startled as I am, George, that Kenny Murphy's made it into round 5 against Fabrice Teoso?
And he's taken over. He's actually taken over the fight.
I'm very surprised.
He's got this look about him that's deceiving.
Well, if you're going to get one shot, you might as well try to make the most of it.
That's right.
And to be honest, a lot of Teoso's punches are designed just to land and not to devastate. Not every one of them is thrown with power punch commitment.
As though he's looking for a knockout. He's not committed to a knockout, Teoso.
But he is piling up points.
He's also piling up a lot of lumps on Murphy.
Let me hold the hand. Let's go.
Now Teoso is starting to jab and hook off the jab, right hand.
Lands another long right hand. Murphy backing up though, and Murphy still in control of himself. Round 5 coming to a close. Let's go listen to Mitch Halpern's instructions to Lennox Lewis in his dressing room.
Rapid punching, kidney punch, or anything low. If you score a knockdown, I'm going to send you a neutral corner. You got to stay there until I tell you to come out. If you do score a knockdown, don't hit the guy when he's down, period. Okay, if your mouthpiece comes out of your mouth, keep fighting to protect yourself. When there's a low, we'll go to the corner, get it put back in. Okay, I want you to watch your head and your elbows inside. All right, there's no 3 knockdown rule, no staying 8 count. You're a champion of the world, and I expect you to conduct yourself like a champion. So when I say break, take a step back and protect yourself. All right, this will be a good, clean fight, all right? Any questions? Ready? All right, good luck to you.
What we didn't see and don't know if anybody's inspected the cup of Lennox Lewis, which is
okay, but just don't let him
become a debating
man,
point.
all right? If you want to fight him, fight him. Don't sit down there. I can't let you take it.
I'm listening to the
And to our ears, at least, it seemed that Mitch Halperin delivered exactly the same instructions, pretty much word for word, to Lewis that he gave to Holyfield.
That's a good idea, too.
It's the fair way to go about it, including the stuff about the head, as though it would be easy for Lewis, the taller man, to bend over and butt Holyfield, but it's not completely out of the question. Halperin, of course, got rave reviews for his handling of the first Tyson-Holyfield fight, and got extra good reviews a few months ago for the way he dealt with De La Hoya in Trinidad. So Mitch Halperin, despite some rocky moments early in his refereeing career, has become a highly respected Nevada referee.
This fight is turning out to be a good fight.
This fight is turning out to be a lot better fight than it appeared to be at first.
Now, I think I will buy a used car from Lee Holiday now. He said this guy would give all he could.
If he could revive this old torso, what could he do with an old used car?
What could he do? He could do a lot.
Teozzo landed 50 of 78 punches in the last round. So if CompuBox numbers properly reflect the flow of the fight, you got to expect that Fabrice won that one on the scorecards too. But Kenny Murphy's hanging in, doing some damage here and there. It just doesn't look like he has the one big punch, George, that could really turn things around.
He's not a puncher at all. He's got heart. Enough heart, just a little more skill and some road work. We'll see a different fight. Oh, but the right hand's by Teozzo coming in strong now.
Well, maybe we shouldn't be too surprised at the resiliency and the courage of Ken Murphy. After all, his mother, Katie Murphy, raised 8 sons and 4 daughters in a small apartment unit at the Robert Taylor Homes on State Street in Chicago, one of the toughest housing projects in the country. So the Murphys come from solid stock.
Yeah, he's got a son, well-behaved, nice-looking boy. Look at the right hand.
This is the kind of beating that Murphy will feel for weeks.
Round 6 coming to a close. We're halfway through this cruiserweight title fight between titleist Fabrice Teozzo in the black trunks and Kenny Murphy in the gold. Well, George Foreman, one of the questions that surrounds the Evander Holyfield-Lennox Lewis fight, as you look at Holyfield warming up in his dressing room, is the question of whether Evander can get inside of Lewis's jab to do damage against a taller fighter in Riddick Bowe. Evander Holyfield had no difficulty getting inside and wreaking havoc on Bowe in 2 of their 3 fights. But March 13 in New York, it appeared that Lewis was able to keep Holyfield occupied at the end of his jab. What must Evander do?
Well, Evander was able to go down to the body early and pick a fight with Riddick Bowe to make him lean forward with his head, bring the fight to him. And that's what you want to do, is make the fight come to you if you're Evander Holyfield.
Can he do it against Lewis?
Don't go out there and trying to get close to him. Make him come to you and you get close. He can do it. He can do it. He's got the skill and the experience, and he's been in with enough giants in his career.
Maybe he can take 5 or 6 years off his age. That would help.
I think that's when you can best qualify yourself to get up a strategy when you're older.
And incidentally, I think I personally believe it has more to do with style than age.
Yeah, when you get a certain age, you can follow instructions a lot better, because that's your only hope.
Harold, how do you have it through 6 here?
Jim, I got it 6-0, 60-50.
Whoa!
Fabrice Teozzo.
Whoa!
These are for the Murphy right hands, right?
The judges, Jim, always see those double and triple combinations. It's amazing. The guy can double and triple shots, and he's a real big guy. That catches the judges' eyes. Fabrice Diozzo winning it easily on aggressiveness and those double and triple shots, the cleaner punches.
So French fans flock in droves to see Fabrice Diozzo, and Harold is feeling like a Frenchman after seeing these first 6 rounds.
Murphy was able to get in a couple good right hands. He received one himself just then.
Yes, receive he did.
Yeah.
Early flurry by Murphy, and now Diozzo has come back to regain his rhythm and take over this part of the round.
Yeah, a lot more in the receive basket than in the outgoing basket for Murphy.
What Diozzo is doing is allowing Murphy to fight when he want to fight and rest when he want to rest. Oh, good right hand.
Getting to the point where you almost want to say to Murphy, well done, you've given it everything you got, but how much more of this do you want to take?
Yeah, it's about the way it is, too.
Well, Murphy's a brave guy.
Keeps trying.
Guy who lost a significant number of his top teeth at the wrong end of a Chicago policeman's nightstick, and is able to laugh about it. Hard right hand by Murphy, or at least as hard as he's got.
He came back with a left hook.
First knockdown of the fight.
7, 8.
First time Ken Murphy's ever been knocked down in his career.
Looked like a fall down.
I would say as much exhaustion as anything else. Joe Cortez watching pretty carefully now as Murphy gets clocked 3 more times. And the bell ends the round.
Okay, yeah, that's it. That's it. All right. That's it.
Good.
Stopping the fight,
That's
Jim.
great. That's great.
Joe Cortez goes to Kenny Murphy's corner and says, quite wisely, we think, that'll do.
That's a good stoppage. We've seen the kid's heart.
He made his point.
He can go back to Chicago proud that he did his best. Just wasn't good enough against a good fighter.
Great performance for Kenny Murphy against a quality cruiserweight titleist, if that's not an oxymoron, Fabrice Diozzo. Here's the knockdown.
That was about a 3-second delay, like a parachute that took a little bit of time to open.
Yeah, like a sports talk radio show delay. You know, I hit you 7 seconds ago, now you fall.
Murphy gave a good show. Even while being pounded, he keeps coming.
Yeah, undertrained, underqualified to be in the fight. He had to be fed a steady diet of stiffs to develop the kind of record that would earn him the fight, and he went in and fought with bravery and commitment and tried to make the most of an unlikely opportunity.
And Lee Holiday, I think I'll buy him now.
What is it you're going to buy from Lee Holiday?
But he's trying to find a good fighter. He's trying to put heart into not so good fighters. If he got to find one good
Edsel
fighter.
for you. He's got an Edsel waiting right there on the lot. It's a collector's item, George. Let's go up to Jimmy Lennon Jr. and hear the particulars on the stoppage.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bout has been stopped at the end of round number 7. A referee in charge, Joe Cortez, halts the contest on advice of the ringside physician. The fighter absorbing too much punishment. The winner by way of technical knockout and still the WBA Cruiserweight Champion of the World, Fabrice Diozzo.
Let's go back upstairs to our host, James Brown. All right,
right, Jim Lampley, so a very methodical, precise, and efficient performance by Fabrice Tiozzo in dispatching of Ken Murphy as he improves his record now. Fabrice Tiozzo, that is, to 41-1. Coming up next, it'll be our main event, the rematch between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis says that he will not need the judges this time. He will exact justice on his own by way of his power punches. As you take a look at Evander Holyfield limbering up, loosening up, making certain that leg cramps will not be an issue in this one. As you heard him tell Nick Charles earlier, he feels good, he feels healthy, so indeed he should be able to dip and do his job nicely to try to get inside, as he indicated he will have to do today in following his game plan. Well, folks, as our main event approaches, warm up your fingers to cast your round-by-round online scoring for Holyfield versus Lewis by logging on to sports.excite.com. Now, following the main event, we'll provide the results and see how your scorecards compare to tonight's official judges. And keep in mind that while online, you can also obtain information about Holyfield versus Lewis, as well as watch the post-fight press conference. Back here now with Roy Jones Jr. And Roy, I'm reminded when we were talking about the first matchup between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis, you were particularly concerned that Holyfield predicted a third-round knockout. Why did that bother you?
Well, that bothers me mainly because it's unlike Holyfield to make a big prediction like that. That puts a lot of pressure on him and on his performance. When you go out and predict that you're going to do something to a guy in 3 rounds, people are looking for that happening. That doesn't happen. It's like, what are you going to do then? But the one interesting thing about it is that Lennox Lewis was also wondering, well, is it going to happen? So that arouses a lot of questions in my mind about Lennox's ability to believe in himself.
You also talked very candidly because Holyfield had predicted a third-round knockout. He didn't have a backup plan, and Holyfield admitted as much as well. Is there a backup plan in place tonight?
There has to be a backup plan tonight. The main difference in this fight should be the fact that there's a backup plan. That's what should make the fight different. Even if he doesn't win, that should make this fight a lot different than the first one because he should have a backup plan. His plan in the first fight was just to knock the man out in round 3. If that didn't happen, what happened? What after that? I mean, he said he was led by the Holy Spirit or whatever, but whatever led him, misled him because he should never predict a third-round knockout. I think only God can make predictions. You can't predict left. You don't know what God has in store for you. And this time, he's going to sit back and wait to see what God has in store for him.
And Holyfield did admit that it was his pride in reacting angrily to the fact that Lennox Lewis was calling him a hypocrite because he wasn't walking properly, if you will, or righteously. So, in fact, he got in the way of the Holy Spirit at that time. Finally, I know Emmanuel Stewart would love to see Lennox Lewis be a lot more aggressive, be like a caged tiger because he possesses the power and ability to walk over Evander Holyfield. Do you think Lewis will display that tonight?
I think he'll try to display that, but that's one thing that's going to be very touchy tonight. He has the power, the size, the ability to try to walk over Holyfield, but when a guy tries to walk over Holyfield, it's when Holyfield's most dangerous. And Lennox Lewis does have a suspect chin. Evander is one of the best punchers, pound for pound, to me, that ever been in the heavyweight division. Therefore, you have to be very suspect of his chin if he tries to do that.
And I know you have a lot of passion and love for the fight game. You're still very much involved and extremely good, but you don't possess any more passion for the fight game than our guy, Nick Charles. Let's check in with Nick.
Okay, there's not a ripple of controversy so far for this one, as everybody's spoken of, and as Evander Holyfield told us earlier, no cramps, no stomach ache, no lethargy. He's fit and ready to go. As for the cup that Lennox Lewis wore the first time, which the Holyfield camp thought was up to his breast and took away any body shot target for Holyfield, Mark Ratner, the executive director of the Nevada Athletic Commission, told me this one that Lewis is wearing tonight is, quote, a beautiful cup. It's conventional. It's actually, the waistband is below the belt, so no problem there. As for Lewis's camp's concern, though, about Evander Holyfield's headbutting in the past, Mitch Halpern, the referee, told me he is taking no preconceived notions into this ring with these two men. So they start, quote, with a clean slate. But right now, moments away from the opening bell, both men sitting in their locker room, I can tell you this, everybody has their game face on. Jim Thomas, Holyfield's chief advisor, told me if President Clinton came to the door right now, he wouldn't get in. Back to you, JB.
Well, Nick, that is awfully good to hear because keep in mind, folks, that the first time that Holyfield and Lewis met back on March 13th, it was indeed a much anticipated affair as the two respective champions were looking to unify the heavyweight titles for the first time in 7 years. Fight fans were intrigued by the size, reach, and knockout power of the bigger, younger Lennox Lewis, while Holyfield, the classic warrior, built his reputation by defying the odds and, as I mentioned to Roy just a minute ago, guaranteeing a third-round knockout. Well, that fight did not live up to its hype or expectations and ended with one of the most controversial draw decisions ever. That's something both fighters promise will not be the case this time. March 13th, 1999, the night Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis would unify the heavyweight championship for the first time in 7 years. Not since Ali Frazier won had Madison Square Garden played host to a heavyweight title fight of this magnitude.
Now we're ready for the bout, and it lived up to its build-up.
Lewis, in the biggest fight of his often criticized career, started strong.
I felt that I was well in control of the fight. Like I said, I kept him at bay with the jab. I threw more punches than him. He had no answer for Lennox Lewis in this fight.
Holyfield threw only 24 total punches in the first 2 rounds, but boldly stood by his prediction of a third-round stoppage.
This round he go out, y'all. Get out of here.
Holyfield landed a left hook inside and led to right hand, and Lewis is stunned. Evander attacking, trying to fulfill the prophecy.
He was a good shot, but it didn't break him down enough. And it was almost like it's a victory for him to get past there. He was happy, and I was kind of angry with himself.
Using his 6-inch reach advantage, Lewis regained control of the fight.
Uppercut, right hand. Holyfield stunned in the middle of the ring.
The overwhelming belief among the Madison Square Garden crowd and the millions viewing worldwide was that Lewis had claimed the victory. But when the cards were tallied, the impossible became reality.
The decision is even a draw. Lennox Lewis has just been robbed of the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world.
8 months since the controversial draw comes the rematch, and at stake once again the undisputed heavyweight championship. Evander Holyfield thrives on rematches. In 1993, he avenged the loss to Riddick Bowe from the year before.
For the second year in a row, they fought the fight of the year.
And 2 years ago, Holyfield floored then-champion Michael Moore 4 times as payback for the 1994 meeting won by Moore.
I want to win this fight because I learned from my mistakes, and I'm willing to do what's necessary to be victorious in the fight.
Lennox Lewis is looking for redemption. This rematch offers him a chance to earn the belts the judges denied him in their first fight.
Lennox Lewis is going to be undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. I've been in the ring with him already, so I know what it takes to beat him. I know what I need to work on to beat him, and that's what I'm going to do.
Both fighters have had plenty of time to contemplate March 13th and why tonight will bring a different result.
Evander Holyfield has no answer for me. He had no answer for me in the first fight. He doesn't know what to do against a boxer like me.
That man didn't realize that he had the golden opportunity to be the heavyweight champ of the world. But because he didn't give his own, he gets a draw. Now he's complaining about they should have gave me. We're not in the business where they give you anything. It's where you take.
With the undisputed heavyweight championship on the line, can Evander Holyfield yet again rise to the occasion when it matters the most? Or will Lennox Lewis, with his size and reach advantage, finally earn his due? Between Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis last March was to bring resolution to the heavyweight division. As we all know by now, it only brought more confusion. hopefully after tonight, one of the sport's worst decisions can be put to rest as champions Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis begin the 13th round in their quest to unify the heavyweight division. Holyfield versus Lewis is being brought to you by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the undefeated king of beers. This Bud's for you. And TVKO, pay-per-view entertainment from HBO. Tonight's heavyweight championship represents an opportunity to restore some semblance of credibility to a sport badly in need of it in light of some uninspiring, controversial fights, and now recently, federal indictments against the International Boxing Federation for bribery, extortion, and racketeering. Both fighters recognize they carry the weight of the sport on their backs and promise a more aggressive, action-packed fight with a decisive ending. Fans and stars alike hope that this is the case. In attendance tonight, Peter Boyle, Everyone Loves Raymond, and a number of other folks, Dan Cortez, Marky Mark, Eddie Murphy is on hand, a big fight fan, and he has been one a long time, and he is here as well with Billy Crystal. I think Billy Crystal loves all kinds of sports. And, of course, Sarah Jessica Parker. Andre Agassi is also here as well with Steffi Graf. And, folks, we are here as well. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm James Brown, along with the man considered to be the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world, and thus far, the only undisputed champion in all of boxing, Roy Jones. And, Roy, we've talked so much about what we expect to see. Let's talk specifics now. Evander Holyfield had a difficult time getting inside of that jab of Lennox Lewis the last time. What can he do to be effective getting inside tonight?
First thing he has to do, JB, is be more elusive, move side to side when he goes in. Don't go straight at Lennox. He has a good long jab. Go to the left or to the right of it with his head. That way he can get closer to Lennox. Punish his body and make him lower himself to Evander's level, to Evander's eye level.
Now, interestingly, with the reach advantage that Lennox Lewis possesses, Lewis wants to get a little closer so he can test the action against Evander Holyfield. Again, is it in Lewis's heart and style to be aggressive?
It's not in his style, and I don't think it's in his heart either. However, that's why I think Evander has a slight chance in this fight, although he didn't do too well in the first fight. When Lennox when his aggressive style that he wants to imply tonight starts to come in effect, it's going to make Holyfield want to say, okay, now I can land this big punch. That's going to make a sparkle go off of Evander's eyes. He's going to say, well, here's my chance to try, if I ever have a chance, here's that one time to pull off another big upset. And that's what he's going to be waiting for.
Let me throw one more your way. Some have said because Evander Holyfield is coming off of two poor performances, Vaughn Bean and, of course, the last Lewis affair, maybe he has, in fact, gotten old very fast. Is he too old, or does he have another great fight in him?
There is a possibility, but I doubt it. The thing about Evander is, against Vaughn Bean and the first Lennox Lewis fight, Evander had nothing to prove. That's not when we see Evander at his best. We see Evander at his best when he has a point to prove. Evander Holyfield really go two. Mike Tyson 1 and 2. So anytime he has a point to prove, Evander shows up. If there's ever a time for him to show up, and this may be the time that he doesn't, you never know because he is 37 years old, but if there's a time for Evander to show up, it will be tonight.
All right, and there is a point to prove tonight. And with more on that, let's take you back downstairs once again to our anchor, Jim Lampley.
All right, thank you, James Brown. We're almost ready to go. George Foreman, earlier this evening, we spoke about Lewis's challenge here, and you said Lewis just has to be himself and do what he did on March 13th. So what can Evander do to make it different?
Evander's got to let the fight come to him. Then get whatever Lennox Lewis extend out there. Don't go reaching for something. Let it come to him. Then when it comes to him, just sink down low and whip that body, and the head punches will come along. He can do it. He can do it.
Yes, he's done it before against other champions equally as good as Lewis. Larry Merchant? You heard James Brown mention the federal indictments against one of the three so-called governing bodies whose belts are at stake here tonight. The difficulties involved in the disappointing fights March 13, disappointment of Trinidad De La Hoya, another Mike Tyson debacle, various other elements of bad publicity. So is the sport's reputation once again at stake? Is it true that boxing needs a big performance from Evander and Lennox tonight?
for the occasional fan who is attracted to these kinds of mega events, yes, 1,000 times yes. But for the true believers, even if we take another one on the chin and need smelling salts, we're not going to retire. Because one of the things we've discovered about boxing fans during all of these troubles is that they're really as resilient and as tough as Evander Holyfield. They've been battered by scandals, they've been decked by disappointments, but they keep getting up, keep coming back for more. Because even though there's nothing worse than boxing when it's bad, there's nothing better when it's good. Let's hope it's good tonight.
All right, well said. So now, with the highest of hopes, but with only the most realistic of expectations, let's try this one more time. For the so-called undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, Lennox Lewis against Evander Holyfield, here's the tale of the tape. And if you've been with us for the past 8 months, indeed if you're one of those who waited years for this to happen, you've memorized a lot of these numbers. 3-year age advantage for Lewis. 2.5 inches in height, it looks like more when they get into the ring. 217 and 242 as opposed to 215 and 246 back on March 13 again. Most people believe 242 is a very good sign for Lennox Lewis. And the reach advantage, 6.5 inches. Budstead numbers, Larry.
From the first fight, and these numbers tell it all, Lewis landing almost 3 times as many punches as Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield's trainers say he has to throw twice as many punches in this fight as he did in that fight. Can he sustain that sort of a pace? Same story with the jabs, although Holyfield has told some friends he intends to try to out-jab the jabber in this fight.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Lennox Lewis-Evander Holyfield fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
All right, Harold Letterman. And of course, diplomatic negotiations have surrounded all the procedural elements of this fight just as they did prior to their meeting on March 13. Lennox Lewis agreed to enter the ring first and be introduced first. And now Lewis will begin his walk-in, preceded by his brother and chess partner Dennis. Former fighter Harold Knight, a key Lewis lieutenant. There's Lennox. You have to move forward.
We haven't mentioned the rematches of Lennox Lewis because he only lost 1 fight, and he won the rematch.
Unmemorable because the rematch was the bizarre affair in which Oliver McCall wept in the ring, walked around instead of trying to throw punches at Lewis, and ultimately saw referee Mills Lane bring the sad affair to a close.
Never received much recognition for his accomplishments in the U.S. Won a silver and a gold medal in Olympics. Lost 1 fight in 10 years as a professional. But a crowd displeasing style has worked against him in public recognition.
If you look carefully at Lennox Lewis and you conclude that his face shows you nothing, then you are in good and populous company. He labors to project an image of unshakable calm and usually succeeds.
There are some 6,500 British fans here. I find that extraordinary, amazing. 6,500 people flew over 5,000 miles to see this man fight and try to win all the heavyweight titles for the first time in this century for a Brit.
And this despite the fact that through much of his career he was at best the second most beloved heavyweight in Great Britain, overshadowed by the far less competent Frank Bruno. But there's the record for Lewis, 34 wins, the draw in New York, the one loss to Oliver McCall, later avenged. Twice he has won heavyweight titles.
Looking at one of the greatest fighters this country has ever produced. Great warrior. I doubt there's been another heavyweight who has been in as many hard, tough, killer fights, absorbed as much punishment, and kept coming back for more.
And the music with which Evander enters the ring is recorded under the label of his own record company, Real Deal Records. Smile creases the face of Holyfield. Nothing yet quite like the rapture with which we've seen him enter the ring for some of his big occasions.
The question, of course, reverts to an old saying in boxing that a great fighter, great champion always has one more great fight in him, as Evander Holyfield already had that and other one more great fights.
Evander Holyfield's extraordinary boxing record, 36 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 25 KOs, 2 of the losses to Riddick Bowe, 1 to Michael Moorer, and of course the draw last March 13. Now let's go to ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr. to step it up one more level.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and we welcome you to the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the featured bout of the evening as we join together to witness the last mega fight of the 20th century. And it's all brought to you by Don King Productions in association with Panics of the U.S., Main Events, Caesars Palace, the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, TVKO, and Budweiser, the undisputed, undefeated king of beers. This bout coming away is sanctioned by the World Boxing Association, President Gilberto Mendoza, Supervisor Jimmy Benz, the World Boxing Council, President Jose Sulaiman, Supervisor Edmund Lipinski, the International Boxing Federation President Robert Lee Sr., Supervisor Walter Stone, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The chairman is Dr. Elias Ghanem, commissioners Amy Ayub, Glenn Carano, Lorenzo Fertitta, Dr. Luther Mack with the executive director Mark Ratner. Introducing to you our physicians at ringside, we have doctors Flip Omansky, Martha Goodman, Al Cabana, and James Game. Introducing our timekeepers and also keeping down to the knockdowns, we have Al Bisick and Jane Broadfoot. Introducing to you our judges, all three from Las Vegas, Nevada, Chuck Jumpa, Bill Graham, and Jerry Roth. Introducing the third man in the ring, working in this, his 60th world title bout, Mitch Halpern. All right, fans, here we go with the rematch we've all been waiting for. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Las Vegas, it's time for the main event of the evening, 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Introducing to you first the title holder on my right, fighting out of the red corner, wearing purple trunks with white and red trim, representing his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. He weighed in at 217 pounds, and with a record of 36 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw, he has 25 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the former undisputed cruiserweight world champion, the former undisputed heavyweight world champion, and the current WBA and IBF heavyweight champion of the world,